Welcome to the Social Chameleon Show, where it's our goal to help you learn, grow, and transform the person you want to become. It's book review time. This time we're doing Can't Hurt Me, Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds by David Goggins. Real quick book summary here to get us all on the same page, I guess, a little bit. For David Goggins, childhood was a nightmare. Poverty, prejudice, and physical abuse colored his days and haunted his nights. But through self-discipline, mental toughness, and hard work, Goggins transformed himself from a depressed, overweight young man with no future into a U.S. Armed Forces icon and one of the world's top endurance athletes. The only man in history to complete elite training as a Navy SEAL, Ranger, and Air Force Tactical Air Controller. He went on to set records in numerous endurance events, inspiring Outside Magazine to name him the fittest real man in America. In Can't Hurt Me, he shares his astonishing life story and reveals that most of us tap into only 40% of our capabilities. Goggins calls this the 40% rule, and his story illuminates a path that everyone can follow to push past pain, demolish fear, and reach their full potential. David Goggins is a retired Navy SEAL and the only member of the U.S. Armed Forces to ever complete Navy SEAL, Ranger, and what you said there earlier. Goggins has competed in more than 60 ultra marathons, triathlons, and ultra triathlons, setting new course records and regularly placing in the top 5. A former Guinness World Record holder for completing 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours. He's a much sought-after public speaker who shared his story with the staffs of Fortune 500 companies, professional sports teams, and hundreds of thousands of students across the country. This guy is just an absolute animal beast. This is a really great book. I love the new emoji things here that we got going on the podcast recording software Zoom thingy. But yeah, anyway, Ransom, what you recommended this? I never heard of this guy before. When I Googled him, I actually had seen him before. I never knew what his name was or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But I had no idea who this was. I've heard of this book. It was recommended to me. Other people, you recommended it and said, dude, this is a must read. I mean, where do we go from there?
Well, I guess I stumbled upon, whatever. I was just flipping through YouTube and just one of the captions. I think it was on Joe Rogan's podcast or something like that. He caught a glimpse of this interviewing or talking about this guy, and he's just talking about this guy and how he works out and stuff like that, and they show a video clip of him working out, and I was like, who is this guy? So I started Googling him, and then I caught one of his interviews, and I think actually the story that you like most about the book, which we'll talk about a little later in the recording, he did an interview with someone else about that. And that's ironic that you like that story. And that's kind of the story that I took. And I was like, damn, I think I should read this book. And then, of course, Joe Rogan's talking about it too. So I was like, let me just grab this book real quick. And then, from there, I guess I can relate with a lot of stories in there. I mean, I didn't have it as hard as he did growing up. I don't think very many people did, but, I had a pretty difficult childhood too, and I'm sure everybody does. They have their own stuff. And I know your story too, because we grew up together. So I was like, dude, I was like, damn, I think you can really relate to this. Plus he's, into the military, special forces is when we were in high school, it's kind of stuff we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then just after listening, I wasn't even halfway through the book. I was like, damn, Tyson, I was like, you got to read this, dude. It's going to be a good one. Anyway.
And it was a great recommendation. I just love that book. It was, and one of these is another one, just like the last one review we did for Talking to Strangers. This one, to me, you gotta listen to audiobook. Do a audiobook / podcast / extra stories
behind the scenes, whatever.
Yeah. So you get a lot more. So the co-writer, he reads the book. And then David's also in the studio, and then they'll stop after a section or whatever, and they'll chit chat. David shares extra stories or he expands on things. So the audiobook, I highly recommend the audiobook. So much more there to get out of it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's longer. I mean, it's not a downside to me. You just kind of gotta like in the audiobook, you kind of get lost with everything that's going on. Cause like you hear the book being read and then like he'll stop the tape and then they'll like talk about the story. And then like, you know, towards the end of the chapter, like they'll start talking about behind the scenes and then doing like, you know, a little podcast. So David, how's your day going? So like you kind of like miss, you know, there's challenges in the book too, which I like. So you kind of like, I guess, get piecemeal here and sometimes you can get distracted, you know, from the challenges and stuff like that. So I just encourage you, like, there's a lot of stuff going on in the audiobook. If you go that route, I definitely recommend it. I mean, bang for your buck, you get the most value that way. But as far as, you know, people who like to kind of stay focused and hone down on things, you know, just kind of remember that you got to kind of hone down on some of the chapters. I mean, not the chapters, the challenges in the chapters, and kind of like try to get fixated on that and kind of don't lose sight of that with everything that's going on. But anyway, the audiobook definitely also makes it good for a reread because there is so much going on that you just go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, I didn't feel or find it to be distracting. I definitely utilized the bookmark feature in the Audible. Yeah. And I bookmarked all the challenges so I could easily just jump right back to that without that extra commentary or whatever stuff. Also, if you, I have Scribed. It's like the Netflix of books or whatever. So I just jumped in there and I got the PDF whatever version, and so then I just go to the section I really wanted to go to, and I could read it a little. That's maybe something.
Yeah, well, that's again, like I said, you had that extra, right? Like versus me, I'm just listening to an audiobook. Like as I'm multitasking and doing other things, it's like, oh dang, I was like, he started going down the story. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about the challenge. Like,
yeah.
And then it's like, oh, I was like, this challenge. It's like, oh, I forgot about the first challenge. And like, oh, like, you know, I'm just saying, like, the book was written first, obviously, and then like, you know what I mean? So if you go through the book, it's a little bit more focused on, you know, getting that can't hurt me attitude, right? And you becoming the hero kind of thing versus the audiobook is more of like, it's like, let's see how far we can take this book even further and do like all this extra podcast and behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool.
I am kind of digging this trend of audiobooks like on a new level.
Yeah.
You know, like Jocko did a little sound effects, and then with Talking to Strangers, that's the pinnacle. And then this was a little bit below that, like somewhere in between those two.
I kind of like this, but I like this a little.
As far as production value, like as an audiobook, you like that better than Talking to Strangers?
I mean, I guess they're two different animals per se. Like when you listen to Talking to Strangers, it's kind of like
so there's no fluff in Talking to Strangers. It's the whole book.
Right. But I mean, it's just like, it feels like a documentary. It feels like you're listening to a movie or something like that.
Yeah. Right.
Versus, you know, this one is kind of like, you know, you get the book feel, but then like, you know, you get the behind the scenes, and then I don't know, I guess I just kind of like the interaction between the ghostwriter and David Goggins. Like they have a pretty good connection going on. They have a pretty good, you know, back and forth story going. So I like that kind of stuff. But.
No, I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying as a production or whatever, to me, like, I mean, I like this. Like once in a while I'll read something. I know Gary did it in some of his books. Ryan Holiday, once in a while, he'll say something real quick in the audiobook that he's like, well, this is the hindsight of, you know, recording an audiobook. This was written 6 months ago. And at the time, you know, there's a couple things like I can tell you about that I didn't put in the book. So once in a while, authors, if they do read the book themselves, you will get a small little something. But this is, I don't know, I think this is a fun place. If people keep this trend going in audiobooks, I think it's going to be real fun. And I think it'll get a lot more people to read, quote unquote, that don't read. And with these, you know, podcasts are getting very, very popular amongst the average, I guess, person. But if the audiobook's on this trend, I think people will consume more books. And I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
I like it.
All
Any
right.
other quick little highlights about and around the book that we want to touch before we kind of get into some more in-depth things?
Nah, man. I think that's good, dude. Just get into the weeds a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, let's get into the weeds. So I don't know where you want to start. What was your favorite part of the book?
My favorite part of the book, I guess, was I think the chapter is called "The Impossible Task." It's one of the earlier chapters in the book. But I guess I kind of like that book because like he's up like against something that's just like the odds are like stacked against him. And that's the part where like he starts like breaking stuff down. He's like, look, if we're gonna make this happen, like we gotta focus. We got X, Y, Z to do, and we gotta do this, we gotta do that. And like he goes through that mental process and like the things that he did. And like for me, that chapter kind of sits home with me because like when I was going through school to get into the medical field, like that's kind of exactly the same thing that I had to do. It's just like, okay, I want to get this degree. That way I can get this job. And in order to do that, it's like, okay, we need to, get into the program first. So you got to take your prerequisites. So right down the line, and it's like, how do you get into programs? Like, well, they take your GPA and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, you start breaking things down to the fact where, okay, I got to get as many A's as I can, try and get a 4.0 so that it looks good so they can get into the program. And like, from there, you just start breaking things down. So even every class, you're trying to get an A and like, so like that kind of stuff for me, that chapter sat well with me. And I guess resonated the most with me. I don't know. What about you? I don't know.
Well, first, that strategy you're talking about, that this big overarching goal, and then how do I achieve that? I got to achieve this step, and okay, how do I achieve that step? And you breaking those things down to all these really small parts. That is a great philosophy or methodology, whatever you want to call it, for achieving these huge long-term goals. So that is, I guess, a nice lesson if you can extrapolate that like Ransom did. I mean, obviously he read the book after that happened, but that is a good thing. My favorite thing was, I don't know if it was one of the early chapters, maybe 2 or 3 or something like that, or whatever, where he wanted to do this. What was that race? It's like one of the craziest races there is, like 138 miles through Death Valley and up the mountains.
I think it was called Badwater or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I think that's right. But in order to, that's like you have to apply to that, and you have to be like this 100-miler race kind of dude, like these extreme event, ultra, whatever they call ultra marathons, or these,
marathons.
Yeah,
so,
right.
He wanted to do that for charity, right? Like,
for the Wounded Warrior, I believe.
For Wounded Warrior. And then, so like he went to go apply to like do it. And the guy's like, well, yeah, you just can't get into this race. Like, he's like, you got to go run 100-miler first. And he's like, by the way, we have one on Sunday if you want to go try it out.
Right. It's like Thursday or Friday. Okay, I'll do 100 miles. Him and at that time, his wife. Like, just get some Ritz crackers and some Mileplex. I'm not sure what that is. I guess whatever energy drink, whatever thing or something. And he's like, let's just go do it. 100 miles. I'm a Navy SEAL. I can run 100 miles on a drop of a dime. So I guess you have 24 hours to run 100 miles or complete 100 miles. You don't have to run the whole thing.
It's just a 24-hour event that and then ironically, after he finished it, I think in the book, David Goggins is like, at mile 100, he's like, I wasn't sure how many laps I did or how many miles I did. So I just did an extra mile just in case. I didn't want to miss it. Yeah. So he ended up doing 101 miles. And then like he emailed the guy back. He's like, hey, yeah, whatever. I did your 100-mile race, around 101 miles on that day, whatever. And then like the guy's response to him was insane. He's like, oh, you gave up after 100 miles? He's like, the whole idea of running for 24 hours is to run for 24 hours. Yeah. But okay. And then like you have to go do another one, right? He's like, So he's like, so you got to get another one under your belt. I was like, what? And Dave's like, what the hell? Who is this guy? Like, it's just like, I did 1 mile more than he asked me to do, and he's just like punking me. But I don't know. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and the part about that story that really, I guess, really stuck out to me is not only did he go in there cold. He's never run anywhere near 100 miles in a single session.
Right. Correct.
And unprepared. He had no idea what it takes.
Nope.
As far as preparation, as far as equipment, as far as support, as far as nutrition, hydration.
Yeah.
And then on top of all that, not knowing all that, and all that just came to bite him in the ass.
Yeah.
Then he says, we sat down for whatever it was. I think he needed a break or something, whatever. And he's just pissing blood all over himself. And then he shit himself, and it's just bloody shit all over himself. He's like, my body was just shutting down. And it's like all those things. And still he got back up and kept going. And he walked a good portion towards the end of that as well.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's 100 miles. Like,
right. And it just goes to show.
With nothing going in, you're not going to run solid straight for 100 miles.
Yeah, right. I mean, he thought he could.
I don't know how these people do it, but I rarely think, I mean, don't get me wrong, there might be somebody out there that can run 100 miles without stopping, but I think they stop. Like,
yeah, I know some of the stories he had said.
It's a 24-hour event. Like he said, he ran it in 17 or something. I don't know, however many hours it took him hours to do it, like longer than you need to stay awake. But anyway,
right. But yeah, there's stories where people, they stop, they eat, they take a nap, different things like that. I know people do stop. I don't think it's a nonstop thing.
Different strategies on how to do it. I guess the other thing we forgot to mention, that this book is really raw. Like,
I love it.
Like Tyson's just going, yeah, he pissed and he shit himself. Like,
that's what he says.
Yeah, but like even the time, like when he talks about his childhood, like he has an unbelievable childhood, and like his father was just relentless, and like the things that he says in there, like for those of, I guess, faint heart, or those people who are kind of sensitive about.
If you have a problem with swear words, you got to get over that shit.
Number one, swear words. Number two, just violence in general towards children, towards women,
racial words.
Yeah, racial words. Like he's very, very raw in this book. Just like spoiler alert. Like, I guess we forgot to mention that. So if you're one of those people like happy, go positive kind of thing, this book might not be for you, because there are a ton of swear words in it, ton of violence, ton of just a lot of things in there, like Tyson said, just a description of it, like him pissing and shitting himself. But anyway, if you can get past all that, or if you like that kind of stuff, then this might be the book for you.
I loved it. As soon as it's like the very opening thing, I was like, oh, this is great. I love it. This guy is raw and straight up. And I think I surmised a little bit from, they didn't really talk too much about it, but they do briefly touch on, it seems like the publishing route they went that way, so it could be raw and this unfiltered type thing. So they never confirmed that, but that's the kind of the feeling I got from what the conversation they had.
Yeah, because he's talking with the ghostwriter and the audiobook version. If you get the regular book, like
you'll never know that.
Yeah, but the audiobook, like they kind of, you get that feel that like he didn't want to just give this to anybody. And I'm sure people were like, hey, we love your book, but can you change?
Well, yeah, I think he said he got a lot of big dollar offers from big companies.
And I mean, again, this is all behind the scenes stuff that we're speculating on. But so anyway. Ironically, though, like I was telling you at the beginning of the podcast, is that story of the 100-miler is kind of the story that that I guess made me want to read the book too, because what Tyson didn't get into is like halfway through, well, not even halfway through, but like just a quarter of the way through the race, like he started having major shin splints. Yeah. And like he just like broke down, and then like he's like, it got to the point where his shin splints were so bad that he couldn't even like flex his ankles. Yeah. And then ironically, this wasn't his first go round, because when he did this in Hell Week for Navy SEALs, which by the way, he went through 3 times. He went through 3 times in like a span of like a year and a half or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
He went through Hell Week 3 times, if you can just imagine that. And this is something that he did on his last go round, because they wouldn't let him go another time after that 3rd week. He's like, dude, you've been here 3 times. This is 3 strikes, you're out. Like, I don't care if you failed on medical the first 2 times, or if you fail on medical the 3rd time, like this is it. Yeah. So what he ended up doing is after Hell Week, he was so broken that he learned the strategy. He would get duct tape and he would, put his sock on and he would duct tape around his sock, put another sock on top of that, and then duct tape that.
Yeah.
So basically he was making a soft cast for both of his legs, not one, for both of his legs. He had, such pain and such stress factors on his shin splints that, for the 100-miler, he did that. Halfway through, he did like 50 miles on shin splints, and he duct taped his legs to finish that race. Like, that's the kind of like mental like things that are going through his mind. It's like, oh, I have this pain going on. And I guess to me, that's kind of where, you get, okay, we have goal A to do, like, there's pain in my legs. I need to do something about that. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, like, I didn't properly prepare for this. So like, let's go get some water. Like, I need water. Like, you just start breaking things down, and like this task that seems impossible, like running 100 miles with no training, like all of a sudden, like you start to see the light in the tunnel and just keep pushing yourself and doing that. But yeah, I mean, mentally though, that's just crazy. He was in that race, he was mind over matter, like basically. I don't know. But anyway.
And that's the why I like the story. I mean, I've heard this before. I don't know if he came up with this or what, or he doesn't realize that it's something out there, but I've heard that our body stops at 40%. It's a self-preservation thing, so that your muscles are ready. If something else ever comes up, like, you shut down at 40%, you can, I know there's different techniques and different things. You can get yourself to 60, but majority, whatever, of 99.999% of humans, when you get to 60% of your body's capacity, capabilities, whatever you want to call it, you're just done. Like, it's a very, very small amount of people that can push past that 60%. And that's kind of what David is doing here. He's getting to that 90, 100% of his body's capabilities. Yeah. And that's the stuff where it just goes to show how short we stop ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
We all stop ourselves. And this is at the maximum. You're stopping yourself at 40% all the time. I mean, and that feels like the end of everything to you. That's the stuff I just love. And then it reminds me of this Stoic quote from Seneca. He was one of the richest men in Rome. He was a senator and stuff like that. He said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Yeah. It's like, just think about, like, we stop at 40% all the time, and we think I give it in my all, but biologically you haven't. And then this just illustrates that to just, I mean, obviously another level, but it reminds me in my day-to-day life, and I've known this for a long time. So sometimes when I feel like I can't go on, or I can't push through that last 15 minutes of class or whatever, or that last few reps, I think, dude, you're only at 40% at the most. Like, you can fucking push out 3 more reps. You can go 15 minutes more of class. And then, and then I think back when I was reading this book, had some flashbacks when I went to, basic training, different military things. And it's like, when you're just getting your fucking face beat down, and it's just, when I went to basic training, it was snowing and it was cold. So a lot of times, I mean, we're doing stuff on icy sidewalks or in snowy fields. And it's like, you just want to stand up and say, fuck this, fuck you, I'm out of this shit. Like, I don't know why I'm here. And then you think to yourself, like, I know girls, I know weaker people that have passed this. Like, you can get through this. This is just a temporary thing. And when you have those tricks or those thoughts in your head, and like, dude, you can just endure anything for 30 more seconds, for 60 seconds, 2 more reps. Like, when you know those things and you know them to be true, they're very, very powerful. And this is a great story that illustrates that to me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the 100-mile race at that point with no training, he was going physically, like his body was just physically shutting down, which is why he was peeing blood. I think in the book, it leaded to, he didn't actually go through what happened when he went to the doctors after that moment, but he was alluding to the fact that his body was in kidney failure because of, just this high stress with low metabolism. I'm not metabolism, but with low nutrition and not being properly trained for it. Like, his body was just trying to break down everything and to preserve itself. But yeah, he also goes into the whole thing about just the mental game. Like, not only is your body physically breaking down at 40%, But because your body's breaking down, like mentally up here, you think, yeah, this is over. This is like, oh, I'm peeing blood. Like I need to stop running. Like for him, he's like, hell no, I'm going to keep running. It take, again, and he says it in the book too, like, I don't think you should take things to that extreme. He probably damaged himself. Again, he doesn't go over what happened at the doctor's office, but it's just like, we're not doctor's office, the emergency room, I should say.
Right.
But anyway, like your body does physically break down. So you do need to stop at some point. Once you get past that 40, however, like, if you do it safely and you do it progressively, like, you can take it to 41 or 42% or 45% safely.
Right.
And a big part of that is just the mental game up here, and it's like, he goes into detail many times throughout this book, even the part where he's trying to do the impossible task and get into Navy SEALs to begin with. It's just like mentally, you just have these moments when you want to quit and you want to give up, and that happens to all of us every single day. It's like, my goal this year is to go running and run so many miles every day. And like, you get up and you walk outside and it's snowing and you're like, maybe I can miss that mile today, but that's just your mental stuff like going on in there. And it's just like, no, like you need to get over that and stop whatever it is. And this book too, after reading this book, or even, if the book is too graphic for you, just go watch one of his interviews. It's just like, I'm sitting here complaining because like 10 minutes into my run, I'm like, I'm just finished. Like I'm starting mile, halfway through mile 2 and I can't finish mile 2. And here's this guy, David Goggins, who's like on mile 101, like still huffing it, still kicking out and doing his thing. It's like, all right, I can make the end of this like half a mile. Like it's not that bad. Like, I'll do it.
That's funny. I mean, that's a constant battle in my head I have on a lot of mornings where, my morning gets away from me and I don't like to work out in the morning, but it seems to be about the only time I can really get to do it. That's not work distractions or family distractions or obligations. And the first, if anything goes awry in my morning, the first thing that goes is always my workouts. I'm like, I get this tomorrow. And lately I've been like, I got to do something, even if shit goes awry. I've got to just get some type of movement going. And just like this morning, I was like, my morning was going great. Like everything was lining up and I was like, it's 8:45. And I was like, oh, well, we're going to record a podcast at 11. I was like, I got some emails I got to do. And I was like, come on, man, cut this shit out. Like you got plenty of time. And like, everything's lined up this morning for you to succeed. And I'm still trying to figure out a way.
To mentally just get out of stuff.
Get out of it.
And it's just, and I guess part of that comes back to like, other books I read, like the Sadhguru Guru talks about inner engineering. He's like, we live in the most comfortable times of all of humanity. Yeah. Like literally you can just, I'm hungry right now. It's like, you can just go to this and have whatever.
Have drive-through delivered to you.
You just like have McDonald's delivered to your front door. Like you don't even, and it doesn't have to be McDonald's. Like it can be whatever. You want Whole Foods? Bro, like go get it. Like Whole Foods will be here. Like whatever you want will come to your door. Like in seconds. Or maybe not seconds, but in like 15, 20 minutes, it'll be here. You do nothing. You literally just a little over tap a button and like your food will be here. It's crazy. Like even to pay, like you don't have to bring out your wallet. No. You just like touch phones and like you're it's like paid on the app. It's like, it's crazy. Like we're so
our homes keep us comfortable. Like my house just takes care of itself. Like it knows the temperatures I like and it just takes care of it for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a smart home. Like you come home, just hey Google, I'm home, and like the lights will turn on. The AC will drop to whatever. The TV will turn on to your favorite channel. The radio will start playing your favorite songs. Like this is the comfortable world, and like even to the point when it's like we have either coworkers or acquaintances, in our life that are making our life a little uncomfortable. It's like this David Goggins guy wants me to run like 100 miles. Like I don't think I should associate with that guy anymore. Like we just start excommunicating people or saying that people are mean. Like I get told that like a bunch of times. Oh, you're mean. I'm like, I'm not mean. I'm just trying to get you to feel a little uncomfortable because I think you're just a little too comfortable in your world that you don't, and I guess that's the other thing for me that resonates with this book is like people are so comfortable that if they just went an extra 1 or 2%, like they could accomplish or they themselves could be so much more. And our world nowadays is just so comfortable that people they don't want to reach for that. They don't want to do that. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, if you're comfortable where you're at, I mean, why change, right? Like life's good.
Right.
But, I like this book and I agree with Goggins is like, bro, get out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're letting yourself down. I think you're just letting this excuse is like, oh, I'm comfortable, just be an excuse as to why, all those insecurities that you have inside about yourself that you'll never become anything. And you're just holding on to it because it's like ice cream or milkshake or something that's just comforting you. But I think you can have more. I think you can be more. I think you can do more. And that's what Goggins is trying to get through in this book. And that's another part of why I love this book so much. But anyway, off of my rant, I'm done with that.
Soapbox off. No, I absolutely agree. And, I talked about this many times on the show. Like I'm constantly trying to find out, where can I get uncomfortable? Where are these uncomfortable situations that still persist in my life? How can I face them? Why am I scared of it? Goes back to that Seneca quote. It's like, if I'm not pushing myself, if I don't know what adversity feels like, how do I know what I'm capable of? And when these situations really do come up, when you're out in the world and life is fucking smacking you hard in the face, you don't know what you're capable of. You don't know what you're made of
until that moment,
right? But then even that, what are you going to do? Well, I fucking shied away from everything in my life. Every person that was sort of not nice to me, I fucking turned them in and I blocked them on Twitter, and I've never had anybody say anything mean or, all this shit that we just, like you're saying, that this comfortable shit. You're good. I guarantee right now you're going to run the fuck away. Yeah. Guarantee it. I've been in emergency situations with trained professionals that have never had adversity and they've run the fuck away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is your job. Not in this capacity, obviously. This is obviously an emergency. You're gone. Like, you're just frozen in time because you don't know. You've never challenged yourself. You don't know how to deal with adversity. You know what I'm saying? And like we talked about many a times on here too. Like you've got to train this stuff. You're not when a situation comes about, you're not going to rise to your expectations. You're going to default to your training. If your training is, I run away, I tell my mom, I tell my dad, I block everybody on everything, I throw a fucking shitstorm when somebody says something mean, you've trained for nothing. You've got to know what you're capable of. Don't sell yourself short. Like this is a huge part of this book that really is. And I bet you it turns a lot of people off. Like, what? I got to push myself through things and people are going to, no, fuck, I'm turning this book off. Fuck this shit. Like I can go on YouTube and somebody can coddle me and tell me all my confirmation biases to everything I already think I know. And I can just sit in this little world.
Like I said, I'm not trying to rag on people that do that. I do that at times. I'm guilty of it. I need a reprieve. Yeah. But, I think if you challenge yourself more, I think if you take yourself to the limit, I think if you push yourself harder, you'll have a lot more in your life that you really, really want instead of just settling for this comfortable existence that you think is happiness, But then again, I don't know you. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. No idea.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you are comfortable, like just get a little uncomfortable. It really opens up your mind and it opens up like the solutions that are available to you. I'll give you guys a quick little example. So, a year or so ago, whatever, I keep hearing about this fasting stuff. I kind of want to try it. But then there's also that counter thing I've heard my whole life, like, oh, we got to be eating, 4 to 6 meals a day. You can't go 2 or 3 hours without food. You can't do all this stuff. And we'd be in the middle of the jungle in the fucking military, and they'd be fucking trucking and flying us food in. Like, it's like always this constant, like, we have to eat food. We have to. And I was like, this makes sense. From an ancestral point of view, like, there's times where we're out on a hunt for who knows how long. I mean, obviously I wasn't alive then, but trying to track down something. Where was those fucking nut trees at? Didn't you guys see blueberries down like 100 miles that way? Like, let's go find, like, there's gotta be, so we've gotta, it made sense that we're capable of not eating for days and days at a time.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to give this a whirl, So I started, doing a few things, and, please take this with a grain of salt, consult with your doctor, whatever your medical shit you have going on. Don't blame me for dumb shit you do. So I started, I'm hungry. Ooh, like, what is this about? Like, and then I started kind of challenging that. Like, I would be out, about, and I'd be like, oh man, I'm hungry. Like, I gotta stop somewhere, and I gotta get food. Like, I'm hungry at this moment. Like, I've got to eat.
Those are those small questions, right? That's
right.
The mental block. Those little tiny questions.
Right. All these things we've been told all this time. It's like, oh, I didn't eat breakfast today. It's already noon. Oh, I've got another meeting. I've got to pull into somewhere, a convenience something, and get something and stuff it down my fucking throat as fast as possible. And then I started doing this fasting. And the first 3-day fast I did, man, my brain was telling me all kind of fucking stories. Oh, you don't need to do this. You can quit. Just have a little bit of something. You're going to need this. And I was like, whoa, look at this. My brain is just doing all these fucking things to me right now, telling me all these stories, doing all these little tricks. And then to me, the hardest part of the 3-day fast I did was getting over my mental tricks in my brain. But as soon as I conquered that, I think it was like, it was somewhere through day 2. I mean, at the end of day 2, definitely by day 3, it wasn't even a thought in my brain. Since then, when I'm out and about, I don't have lunch. It's fucking 5 o'clock and I haven't eaten anything all day. I don't even give a shit. But but do you see how freeing that is? Yeah. Not only am I not running through a fucking Burger King and stuffing a Whopper down my throat, or pulling into a convenience gas station and throwing fucking 3 Snickers bars down my throat, I'm not doing that now. And then I'm also not spending that money, and then I also lost over 50 something pounds, and that's the only thing different I did. But to me, I could be working, I could be in a meeting. I don't give a shit what time it is. Hunger doesn't control me anymore.
Yeah. See, that's the part.
That is the freeing part about that. Yeah. But if you never get over those mental hurdles and understand these are just fictional limitations that either society has put on us or whatever, your brain wants to be comfortable.
Part of that is programming. Part of that is habitual.
Right.
But once you start the fasting, once you interrupt the cycle and break it, you realize how false that really is. I mean, barring a medical condition you have, these things are all within everybody's grasp. I was going to say, you're not the fattest kid on the block, but you're kind of chunky. I mean, even myself too, I got like over 20% body fat. And it's like, ironically, how you're saying it, I just flash back to all my chemistry days. It's like our body actually takes the fat and stores it into these long fatty acid chains that are crazy. And they're perfect because they have a little bit of, carbohydrates at the beginning of it. So you use that to break down the whole fatty acid. And it's not like eating McDonald's where, those are triglycerides, but whatever the case, like that fuel is actually good for you. And, I'm not doing a 3-day fast, but I do intermittent fasting nowadays too. Yeah. And in the morning when I get hungry, it's like, I just go for a run. And when I'm on my run, right before my run, I'm like, it's time to eat. Because when you go through the run, your body's going to naturally break down your fats and use that for energy. I mean, it's not the greatest energy, but yeah. And
your glycogen stores are going to be depleted. And right, there's so much that goes into it. Check out Peter Attia's podcast, The Drive. There's a bunch of episodes that go real in depth into this. And then also in the times we live too, we can be smart about these things. There's a couple of supplements you can take to keep your magnesium levels up and keep your kidneys in the right condition and make sure you're sleeping well. I mean, But
don't do the David Goggins and just go like cold turkey.
But you can flash back to him and say, you know what? This story in my head, wherever it came from, it ain't fucking true.
Yep.
And if it was true, I can make a new truth. And I can push on to a new level and to a new limit. And I'm not going to be controlled by these things.
Yeah. And then for me, even the impossible task, like that's my favorite chapter. I mean, David lost 100 pounds and
106 pounds in 3 months.
In 3 months. You know what I mean? And like, you just like, you fathom that it's impossible. He was like 300 pounds. Like he couldn't even run a mile. You know, so like he did but like, you know what I mean? Most people, it's like, oh, I can't even run a mile. Like I'm never going to lose this weight. And like,
I can't walk around the block. Why am I trying?
Keep feeding yourself this crap. Like, you know what I mean? Like there are things that you can do. And like, you know, I'm not knocking people who did. I know a lot of people who've had like the bypass surgery on their stomach or whatever, or staple their stomach and it helps or whatever. But you know what I mean? Like you can, I'm just saying that, you know, it is possible to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't run. So what did he do? Like he can do cardio. He can jump on a stationary bike. He can get into a pool. He can swim. And so he like did all of that stuff. He was on a stationary bike. He was swimming until he could run. And then once he could run, he added runs on top of those workouts. And, you know, he did the same. I mean, maybe not fasting, but he had like one chicken breast a day with some veggies and like a thimble of rice. And that's all he lived on or whatever, you know, according to the book, right? I don't really know what happened.
Yeah.
But like, you know, and like him too, he's like, you know, went through all this mental game. I couldn't sleep at night because I felt hungry all the time. But that's just the mental game.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can push yourself to the limit. Again, consult a dietitian and stuff. Don't try to do the David Goggins weight loss program. I bet it sucks more than anything you've ever felt in your life.
I can't imagine that.
But you know, you don't have to eat 5 times a day, and you don't have to eat, you know, as many calories as you think you do. Like,
I mean, unless you're in a select group of people that's bodybuilders or something, but most of us are not that. We don't need 4 meals and 3 snacks a day. That's just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. You know, and then like all the other things he had to do. And like, it's just like on top of losing this 100 pounds, he had to pass the ASVAB. And like Tyson, I don't even remember, like, I mean, I scored pretty well on the ASVAB, but you got to remember like David's growing up, like school was not school for him. School was like nap time because his dad worked it. Did
he say something? He couldn't even read past like the 2nd grade or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, whatever the case is, but I mean, like for him, he slept in school because after school finished, that's when real life began. You know, he was an 8-year-old kid working at a skate ring, like all night till like 4 a.m. And then like, he'd have to go to school by like 7 or 8. And it's like, you know, he slept and did whatever he had to do to recover from that, because that, you know, he wasn't allowed to really learn in school. Right. You know,
it was all about the family hustle.
Yeah, it was all about the family hustle and all this other stuff. And then like, since he didn't learn all those skills early on in an elementary school, like that carried with him to middle school, to high school, and like he was behind the curve and all that. So for him, passing the ASVAB was crazy. And to get into SEALs, he had to get a 50 on the mechanical comprehension at the time. You know, you know, as far as the ASVAB was concerned, to me.
So real quick, if anybody doesn't know, the ASVAB is like the entrance exam for the military. You've got to score a certain score, and then your score depicts the types of jobs available to you.
Yeah, it's an acronym. It stands for Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. And it's just you know, I guess maybe SATs, but you know, a lot of people,
something like that.
A lot of people know what SATs are, but it's the military uses it to figure out what jobs you're designed for. So the way they sold it to me in high school anyway, to take it, was that I could find out what I'm good at, you know, whether I'm good at math or whether I'm good at stuff. But anyway, the military uses it to find out what jobs you are. And it has different sections. So it'll have like language, it'll have signaling, it'll have math, it'll have mechanical comprehension and stuff like that. But, you know, for me, I guess the mechanical comprehension part was all right on the ASVAB, but I just get notes off because when I was taking the firefighter exam, they have a mechanical comprehension part in there that's crazy. It's like, if you turn gear A, like how many times is gear B going to turn and stuff like that. So, so he had two goals. Not only did he have to pass the ASVAB at a certain point, but he had to get, 50 on mechanical comprehension, which is one of his weakest points. And, on top of that, he had to lose 100 pounds. He had to do all of this in like a matter of months.
Yeah. He had 3 or 4 months or something that he had to do it.
And then he got to the point where like he would like miss a quarter mile or like miss one of the reps in his workout. And then, in order to prevent himself from doing that again in the future, he's like, look, man, if you miss a rep or you're short a quarter mile, you got to do the whole workout all over again from the get-go. It's
some Kobe Bryant shit right there.
Ironically, rest in peace. Ironically, he does mention Kobe Bryant in the book. I was like, I don't know if he's in the real book, but as far as the interview part in the audiobook, like they talk about Kobe, like having a sore wrist for one of the games or something like that. And I was like, damn, I was like, ironic, like how we're doing this around this time and they're talking about it. But
it's funny, but that's something that was said about Kobe. Like he had to make 100 free throws in a row before he would leave the gym, whatever. And all these different metrics he set for himself, these impossible standards, most would say, but that's where this greatness comes from. Yeah.
And it's like, like how many times, did he want to quit in that? Like he talks about it all the time. He's like, like I wanted to quit. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. And then he just had to keep telling himself, no. And, a lot of this, people think like, oh, he's just this big fitness freak or whatever. But ironically, he doesn't do this stuff for the physical aspect of it. He does it to get a strong mental head game. Because that's when things get real. It's like your body wants to quit and your body can't move. Like you're at muscle failure and you got to keep pushing beyond that. Like it takes a lot of mental energy and focus to get that done. And, just that's another tool that you can use to unlock up here. This book is about Can't Hurt Me. It's a mental mindset, not a physical one, ironically,
And that, like we've said, like that, once you can identify, understand, and like overcome that self-talk in your head, like the shit we say to ourselves is just unbelievable. Most people would never say that stuff to your closest friend, Nope. So when you can master that, and it ain't every time, it's not, every day, but, slow wins, small wins, like identifying it, saying, oh, this is just a story in my head. Maybe somebody told you, maybe it's something you don't even remember how it got implanted in there. But that, man, like, I don't know how many times, like just that mental game, like just being able to overcome that is just so powerful. I don't know how else to explain it, but.
Yeah. And yeah, it is. And then, as far as him getting into or making it into the Navy SEALs, it's like, like that, I'm sure like everybody at the recruiting office was like thinking it was a joke. Like, all the voices in his head was just telling him, no, you're not going to do it. You're not going to make it. But the second, he wasn't under 200 pounds yet, but he'd already lost I think 70 or 50 or 70 pounds. So he knew he would make weight. But the second he passed that ASVAB, he's like, hell yeah. He's like, yeah. Like he just like kept yelling it. Like, I was like, damn, dude, that's gotta taste so good. Like, just that victory alone of like, dude, I'm a Navy SEAL and I'm going to get the chance to be a Navy SEAL. Yeah, right. I'm not a Navy SEAL yet, but right. That chance.
But I think that's what he says in the book too, right? He was saying like just as I pass this shit doesn't mean I'm a fucking SEAL. Like I still got to do the work. Like,
yeah, but you gotta imagine like how hard it is. Like you need to lose 100 pounds and you need to pass the ASVAB and get a score when you don't know how to read and write.
Right. All those things were
stacked against him.
Right. They looked insurmountable. You can't read. You're not smart. You've never been able to score anywhere near these scores in your ASVAB in the past.
Without cheating or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Know? I think on top of that, he said on the test day or whatever, they switched over to computers.
Yeah, he just said, I had no idea how to use a computer.
I don't know how to use a computer. Like, it's like, I was like, damn. So like, you just add that new element that might have helped him actually, but who knows?
I don't know.
But as far as, but I mean, just understand that if you can go through all of this stuff, you can answer all of these tough questions in your head. You can get past that mental game. Like, you can taste victory at the end and become something that you never thought would ever be possible. And, to me, that's what makes this book amazing and great. I mean, I like the way it's put together. Not everybody would agree with it, but yeah, I could relate to it a lot. And just getting that mental toughness to accomplish, things that are beyond your wildest dreams. And I don't know, to me, that's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, there's so much good in this stories in this book. And that mindset it keeps evolving. You can see it from the beginning of the book and how that mindset evolves and it goes, and the things he puts himself through and the tough questions he asks himself. And I mean, so many times in the stories he tells, where he was out there running this, 100-mile race. He's like, why am I fucking doing this?
Yeah,
I should just quit right now, go home, sit on my couch, get in this air conditioning, get me a, whatever, and then just chill out. Like, why the fuck am I out here like a weirdo retard doing this crazy shit, And then he's got to like dip back into what he calls his cookie jar and say, why am I doing this? Like, I'm doing this for this. Sometimes he's raising money. Sometimes he just wants to see how far he can push himself, like this, whatever his reasons are. I mean, you've got to be able to take those same lessons and say, what are my reasons? And that's, and a lot of times, like we've talked about here in the past, this is why we give up on things. We don't have a reason to do things. We're just doing these things. Oh, because my parents told me I should be this, or, I saw this thing on the gram and I figured I would do it, or I thought I could make some money. And when these tough things come up, that's why you quit, because there's no reason behind any of this stuff. There's no reason to push through. It's easy to say, like, fuck this. Like, I'm going to go back and get comfortable. Like, what's on Netflix?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. And that's, for him, I guess the cookie jar is just all the things that he never thought or never imagined that he could ever do, like passing ASVAB, like doing Hell-E 3 times, or running 100 miles in one day, like with 3 days notice. Like, like he just, and that's the other thing people don't understand too, is like, like you think you can go out there and like drugs and alcohol or sex or whatever your vices are, food or chocolate milkshakes, whatever those vices are that you go to, right? External sources of happiness, or what you think is happiness that is out there. Like in this book, David Goggins can explain to you, like, you can find your own happiness. You can find your own feel good things, right? This cookie jar of sorts that he just goes into. And, whenever he's there, just every day, it's like, oh man, I did that. Like, frick, that's amazing. I did this. I did that. I did this. I did that. And not an egocentrical way, not your ego talking, it's just, you put in the blood, the sweat, the hard work, the effort. And when you do that and you taste the victory of that, like, I mean, just like that day, I'm pretty sure, he goes behind the scenes when he passed ASVAB and he was going to make it in. Like, I felt the same way when I got into the respiratory program. Like, I didn't think it was possible, but, I got in, and like, I can tell you, like, I felt like $1 million on that day. Like, I don't care how many chocolate milkshakes I have, or, the hottest woman that you could ever have intercourse with, whatever. Like, there are things that just do not compare. And that is one of them. It's just like, damn, I got into the respiratory. I'm going to make it. Like, I'm going to get this degree and have a chance of getting a better job to like better my life. And like, there's so much meaning behind things. And that's the kind of stuff that I think David Goggins is trying to reach out to people and explain that, look, you can taste these things. You don't need external sources of happiness. You can provide your own. It's going to take you a little bit of work, and it's going to be tough, and everybody's going to tell you to quit. You're going to tell yourself to quit, but you shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a key point. We, especially these social media days and stuff, we think happiness comes from external things, and it don't. It comes from within. And if you're looking, you think more money, more likes, more followers, more whatever, a raise, a promotion, you think that's going to make your life better, man? It ain't. It fucking ain't. I'll tell you right now. It doesn't. It's got to come from within yourself. And, like Ransom shared, like one way to feel that is to set out to have these goals, have these accomplishments when you're pushing yourself and you just have that feeling of like, wow, I feel so good. I'm so proud of myself. And it's just you that's
Yep.
feeling this. It's just from within you. It ain't nobody else give a fuck about you.
Yeah.
It's you saying, damn, man, I feel so good. Man, look what I'm capable of. Like, fuck, I set a goal out and I fucking did it. And even if you don't quite make the goal.
Yeah, just doing it.
Just doing that shit.
It's
powerful.
Yeah.
Anything else in this book? Anything else you want to highlight or touch on?
Nah. I mean, there's a million things. We could talk for hours on this book, man. I like this book hardcore, but
yeah, this book is dope.
I mean, I think we drilled to the core of, the message behind the book. And I think he's got, one challenge for every chapter that's in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we'll do one of the challenges here today and stuff, talk about it.
Yeah. And then every chapter, I love that. It's got a challenge. And it's pretty well thought out and it's kind of in depth. There's a good little lead up into some different things and he wants you to share and stuff like that or whatever. Those are great things. Go through the book, do those challenges. Your life is going to be immensely better.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, yeah, I think I'm good with that, bro.
Perfect. So, if you're looking for something out there, a little help around something, a little handout, maybe something like that, check out this month's giveaway. See what we got that's helping you live this better life, helping you overcome these obstacles. We do books, we do course, with all kind of stuff, whatever we can get our hands on that we're loving, we're liking, we want to share with you. Check out the socialchameleon.show/pickme. Find out what we got going on for this month's giveaway. And I will link to this book and a couple of different resources in the book. There's a great stretching thing that he winds up talking about at the end that he literally, from my impression, he credits with saving his actual life. His body was so destroyed and shut down from all the years of abuse. This stretching stuff, I went ahead and bought one of the courses. I've been having fun with it. I'll share that with you guys in the things. I'll link to David Goggins stuff in there. Some of the crazy pictures and stuff that are out there around this stuff. So you can see some of the little visuals to that stuff. Will all be at the socialchameleon.show. You just look for this episode and get in the show notes. Any other things around?
Just pushing out there, the Ranger Creed. He talks about it in the book. There's actually a pretty good story in the book for me anyway. Yeah. He's mostly known for being a Navy SEAL, but he has been through Ranger training as, Ranger. But you should check that out if you need motivation it's more about soldiers, but if you look at it from the context that any soldier can be anything or just do whatever. And the philosophy that the Rangers did behind is like being the best of the best and not leaving anyone behind and, being an example. And like, there's just so many good things in the Ranger Creed about being a better human and about, taking things, a step further than and doing that just because. So I like to add that out there. We'll add it in there.
Absolutely. I'll link that in the show notes for you guys. Read that, apply the principles. Ranger Creed is a great little piece of poetic knowledge to improve your life.
It's very inspirational.
Definitely. And then this week's challenge, we're doing the challenge from this book. Challenge number 1, I'll read it off for you guys real quick. And I want you guys to go out there and implement this. So it starts off like this. My bad cards arrived early and stuck around for a while, but everyone gets challenged in life at some point. What was your bad hand? What kind of bullshit did you contend with growing up? Were you beaten, abused, bullied? Did you ever feel insecure? Maybe your limiting factor is that you grew up so supported and comfortable, you never pushed yourself. What are the factors limiting your growth and success? Is someone standing in your way at work or in school? Are you unappreciated and overlooked for opportunities? What are the long odds you're up against right now? Are you standing in your own way? Break out your journal. If you don't have one, buy one. Or start one on your laptop, tablet, or notes app on your smartphone and write them all out in minute detail. Don't be bland with this assignment. Show I showed you every piece of my dirty laundry if you read the book. If you were hurt or still in harm's way, tell the story in full. Give your pain shape. Absorb its power, because you're going to flip that shit. You will use your story, this list of excuses. These are very good reasons why you shouldn't amount to a damn thing, to fuel your ultimate success. Sounds fun, right? Yeah, it won't be. But don't worry about that yet. We'll get there. For now, just take inventory.
Nice, dude. I like that. And just, I guess, ending with that is his final thoughts is, this Can't Hurt Me book is just about having a rock solid mindset, which is very rare in today's world, just because, as far as where humanity has gone, we're so comfortable with where we are, so comfortable about everything. And that's what I like about this first challenge is like, sometimes that comfort is what stands in our own way. It's like people like Tyson and I, we can tell you about our rough childhood or all the failures that we had if you watch our previous episodes and the journey that we've been on and that we go through. But, what's your story? And for me, I think ending the final thoughts is it just comes down to answering the small questions. All those times that you want to give up, all those times that, you think it's not worth it, or that you're never going to amount to anything, or, just even doing this challenge, you're like, oh, I'm not even going to do that challenge. If that's going through your head right now, that's a small question. You need to take control of yourself, and you need to start answering those small questions and figuring out where that comes from. Is that really who you are? Is that really who you want to be, that little voice inside your head? Or are you going to be you and tell that voice inside your head that that's BS?
Absolutely. And somebody that needs to hear this message, or you want somebody to take this journey with you, share this with them. It's a great way to help the show. It's a great way to support yourself in the community. Get this stuff out there. If you like what we got going on, you guys can leave likes, reviews, whatever you want to do. Subscribe. Your favorite podcast app, or YouTube, you like the video version. Don't forget to connect with us all week long at the Social Chameleon Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For past episodes and everything we talked about here today, you can visit the socialchameleon.show. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep transforming into that person you want to become.